All right, what is up, YouTube boxing fans? This is K-Rod here. I'm back with another good boxing live stream for you guys. I'm going to be talking about why, well, I got a whole lot of shit to talk about, but I'll be talking about a couple topics that I have on the screen here that I'm going to be talking through my phone in. But let's get right to it. Let me just get myself situated here because I rather kind of just have. Hold on, sorry. I rather just have like my own, chat box right here. That makes it easier to see what's going on. Can you all hear me? Testing. All right, good, perfect. Good, perfect. All right. So what is up, guys? It's K-Rod here. We're back with another good live stream for tonight. I will be talking about a multitude of things, but the three most important topics will be Devin Haney versus Vasil Lomachenko beef. The second point will be why I believe Canelo will lose to Caleb Plant. And then the third point will be, is boxing in the era of ducking, i.e. boxers avoiding other boxers. All right, I see my fan here, Spherical. Hey, what's up, man? Yo, I apologize for that because I got like tired out of nowhere and I just like, I don't know. I have like those lapses sometimes, like whenever, I'm like sleeping or like I'm getting sleepy when I'm doing, like my live stream and then I just pass out of nowhere. So sorry about that. I should have turned it off, once I started like feeling a bit groggy and droopy, but, yeah, I'll just keep that in mind. But, yeah, let's get right to it, man. We're gonna go off with the first topic. We're gonna be talking about Mr. Devin the Dream Haney that had, I guess, Twitter beef with Vasil High-Tech Lomachenko. Don't know how recent this was. I believe it was just a couple days ago. Lomachenko was talking all that, yip yap smack to Devin Haney after Devin had tweeted stating where the F is Loma at, and seemed like Lomachenko, he was not, really around, which is normal for anyone to say that, like, where is he? And Loma came out of his way to say, I'm here, you just have to, send me the offer, blah, 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 and then we'll get it going. And, how very weird and very unfortunate that Loma says this now instead of calling Devin out late, like way beforehand when Devin was his mandatory. And I find it absolutely disrespectful because Devin Haney has been asking to beat the living breaks out of Lomachenko. So the problem is that Lomachenko, he's been making excuses after excuses to not fight Devin Haney, but now it's somehow, a necessity for Lomachenko to fight Devin Haney. So the issue that I have with this is that Lomachenko, he is trying to make it seem like he's back on track and he's going to come back and start fighting real lions, but I really don't believe in that shit because you want to know why? You should have been fought your best competition when you were fucking champion, right? So here's my beef with Lomachenko. Two things or three things. One, why did you request a WBC French fries belt to avoid Devin Haney? And two, why did you then, basically like order the WBC to prevent Devin Haney from fighting for the vacant title when it should have been him and Luke Campbell in the ring fighting each other, but then you stepped in and then you said, nah, I'm going to be refighting for my same title that I just had to have Devin Haney be elevated to the champion, and then I'm going to vacate it for the WBC French fries belt. So that's really the biggest issue that I have with Lomachenko. He is making a foolery out of himself to make it seem like, oh, I'm such a damn good fighter, but nigga, like, you ain't no good fighter. What have you done, Loma? Loma, you are way past your fucking prime, buddy. You started coming into the game at 26 years old. Do you want to know what people have like? Do you want to know what boxers do at 26 years old? They become world champions by then, or they probably are holding multiple titles in multiple divisions. But it's like for Lomachenko, he just thinks like he could just do whatever the hell he wants. And what gets me mad enough is that you prevented Devin Haney from becoming champion because Lomachenko did not need to fight for the WBC belt. Devin Haney could have easily went for the WBC. Lomachenko could have went for the IBF. He could have went for the WBA. He could have went for anything else. But it's like when it came to Devin Haney right next to him, he's like, "Oh no, I'm not going to fight him because he's too green. If he's too green, then fight him." You want to know what I would do if I had like a mandatory that's like, that stands no match to me? I'm going to tell him to get the hell out of my way. I'm going to rip you to pieces, and I'm going to show the world why my mandatories don't want to mess with me. And then that would make your stock get higher. You would have been paid a lot more money, and you would have been a lot better with your skills. But it just so happens to seem that Lomachenko makes the worst mistakes ever in not taking the smoke if he's that good of a fighter. So this is where pressure busts pipes. If Lomachenko is going to fight Devin Haney for Devin Haney's next fight, which I highly doubt that shit. But let me just keep it clear. Lomachenko is going to get the brakes beat off of him. Devin is going to annihilate the shit out of him, and he's going to treat him like he's just a ragdoll. And the reason why I say that is because styles make fights. Why do you think Devin Haney wanted to go after Lomachenko at 20 years old? Devin would have been the youngest world champion at 20 years old to beat a high veteran? Yeah, a high-skilled veteran like Lomachenko? Do you realize how much money is on the table for that? No wonder why Lomachenko did not want to get that smoke from Devin, because Devin saw it coming. He was like, you know what? If I could get to him faster than Teofimo, then all credibility is gonna go to Devin Haney. There's a reason why Devin Haney has been talked down by other fighters, because other fighters know that Devin is a problem. So the issue that Lomachenko is now bringing to the table is that the questions that will be answered in this buildup is that they're going to ask you, why did you avoid Devin Haney when you were the champion, when you could have fought him right then and there? And then he's going to make his excuse. He's going to say, oh, no, Devin Haney, he's not that good, of a fighter, but now he's a lot better. And, he could be ready for all the competition, blah, 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 but I'll be ready to take away all my titles back. It's like, Loma, I used to like you, but now I'm like, I really hate you because you're such a fucking, prima donna and you have no class. And I think it's just because, he was all hyped up from the beginning, and Bob Arum was like, oh, well, you know what? It just makes it perfect in my financial interests if I'm Bob Arum to use you as a puppet. And Lomachenko was probably fed into all that bullshit, given to him by the media, and he was like, probably thinking inside his head like, oh, everything's going to be fine. I'm going to make everything great in my career. But then when it came to the point of you meeting contemporaries, you're like, oh no, I can't fight that. I can't fight him. I can't move down in weight. He needs to come up to my weight. It's like absolutely, just disrespectful, man. And, it just makes everything worse of what Lomachenko has done for the sport of boxing. And I think this will be connected to my third point that I'm going to be bringing up. But overall, if this fight does happen, I got Devin Haney by stoppage by the 6th round. The reason why is because Devin Haney, he's still a heavy hitter. Believe it or not, Devin Haney, he can put people down, but the reason why he doesn't is because he uses boxing ability before he uses pressure. But for anyone that tries to criticize the Gamboa fight, Devin did a great job. In my opinion, Devin Haney, he could have stopped Gamboa, but the sad truth was that Devin Haney had injured his right or left hand. I forgot which hand it was. So I believe he had surgery on it, so he wasn't really like 100% there. Or I probably say, yeah, he actually fought with a broken hand. Yeah, like yeah, according to his father, or some other alternative media that brought it up, I believe Devin had a broken hand against Gamboa, and he still beat Gamboa better than Terrence Crawford and Gervonta Tank Davis. So that shows to you that Devin Haney, he is a defensively sound fighter. He uses all the tools in his toolbox to make himself the most prestigious fighter. And if anything, Devin Haney is going to be a threat. I like, I'm not going to, be biased about it. I'm saying it, right from here, from this stream, that Devin Haney is a amazing fighter. And I think Loma knew from the very beginning that this kid, if he beats me, the whole world is going to laugh at me. And I don't want to, yeah, and I don't want to be like, embarrassed, because, Lomachenko, quote unquote, won those gold medals. He was a 2-time gold medalist. Don't forget about that, guys. He's a 2-time gold medalist, but yet he could not fight a guy like Devin Haney that's so quote unquote green in the sport of boxing. So that pretty much shows you where Lomachenko's mindset is at. He does not want the smoke. Lomachenko did not want the smoke with Mikey Garcia. Remember, Mikey Garcia, he was at 135 at one point, or I think 130. I'm not too sure, but Lomachenko does not want to fight guys that bring pressure to a fight, because he remembers from the Salido rematch, or the Salido match. I'm sorry, Salido was busting his ass. Salido was hitting him with body shots. He was picking him apart. He was just pushing him back. I would even say Terrence Crawford, he would knock out Lomachenko easy. That's why Crawford had to move up and wait, because he's not going to wait for Lomachenko. And I mean, even though that Lomachenko, he was at 130 at the time, I believe, when Crawford was fighting at 135, but but still, it's like Lomachenko is not this heavenly god sent from earth that is going to dominate the boxing game. It's funny how ESPN says that he's the greatest fighter since Muhammad Ali. As much as I don't even like Muhammad Ali as a person, but as a boxer, yeah, good for his time, but he's still like one of the all-time greats that have still put a lot more accomplishments than Lomachenko. I don't think Lomachenko has the will and the heart, like what Shakur Stevenson said about him. He ain't got no heart. And the sad truth is that I don't think you've ever seen a fight where Lomachenko, he fights with a broken hand, he fights with a broken jaw, or he would even fight, on a fucked up torn Achilles, right? I don't think Lomachenko has that championship heart mentality. And I mean, that's something that you have to be built with naturally, because you cannot train that. You have to naturally be connected to it. And it's really difficult for a lot of fighters to have that type of heart, because when you're a world champion and you have all these cats, all these pussies that know that you're with the shits, that want to fight you, but then they don't want to fight you, you have to keep yourself high and mighty and strong, because that's what makes you a better fighter. Because if you don't make yourself like basically stand out as a boxer and keep your lane to be dominant, then those guys are going to start looking at you as, like the weaker champion. And then you're going to have all these mandatories coming after you that are going to want to fight you, or some other champion in a different title belt commission that wants to fight you. Yeah, Z said broken bone, minus 10 health, plus 5 strength. Honestly, I could actually speak from experience. I had messed up my left elbow back in wrestling in high school, and sadly enough, it was in a match. I was facing some fat ass kid from, I forgot what high school he was from. I think Ravenna, because I'm from New York, so I was wrestling out of the 518. But when I faced this kid, he was super blobby, super fat. But I mean, he was strong, but I was stronger than him. So technically, I was just out wrestling him, in a smarter fashion. But when he sprawled out of the bottom position, right? He effed up my left elbow that gave me a centimeter of bone punctured into my elbow itself. So I had to get surgery on it. But this is like 2 years prior, after I graduated high school in 2013. So in 2015, I was just like absolutely like clueless to not know that, I actually had a really bad injury, which could have been, really bad, because if you have like any piece of bone inside your arm, that's not good. You're gonna, mess up like your whole arm, and it's probably gonna get infected and probably going to get killed from that. Probably some form of disease would have spread, but either way, I got that taken out. I felt a lot better, but when I had, that type of, injury, my whole elbow was like cracking back and forth, and I didn't feel like I had like all my strength, and I just felt like crap. But then after the surgery, everything was healed up, but it just felt like I had like a fucking like bullet inside like my elbow prior to the surgery. But after that was done, I got like 4 holes that were drilled into like my arm. Well, not like holes per se, but they're like, basically surgical marks, right? So, basically, that the doctor just went in on 4 different placements of my arm, and then boom, took it out. Boom. That was awesome. But yeah, for Devin Haney, I wouldn't be surprised for him to have such a messed up hand while fighting. Imagine that. Nobody cannot do that. Like, I don't think anybody in the history of boxing would ever try to fight with like a broken hand. But I'm pretty sure Muhammad Ali, yeah, he's done that. Probably some other good fighters that I don't know. But I give hats off to Devin Haney, man, because Devin Haney, he's a good fighter. He knows what he's doing, and he's just gonna keep advancing to be a much better, individual with what he's doing. So I just hope Devin Haney, if this fight were to come to fruition between him and Lomachenko, I hope Devin Haney knocks his ass out, because Lomachenko, he has basically a lot to lose, and Devin, he has a lot to win. And if Devin can pull off a huge upset over Lomachenko, that will be knockout of the year and fight of the year. So I think either way, that's a really good fight. Alright. So hold on, give me 1 second. Alright, let's get in to the next topic. Give me 1 second. Alright, here we go. So, now that we got that topic out of the way, I will be stating my point for why Canelo Alvarez will lose to Caleb Plant. See, now, for some people that don't understand this, I will keep saying this time and time again, that styles make fights. And no matter how much of a dick rider you are to defend your fighter, you cannot run away from that statement, because that is a scientific fact in boxing, where if you have the better style coming into the fight, you are going to win. But usually the old saying in boxing is that if you have the better defense in the ring, you're going to win, every single fight. So with Canelo, the issue is that he's been cherry picking so many damn people in his career that you really just can't tell if Canelo is actually trying, or he's being tested to the point where he's been hurt, he's going to get hit at a spot where he doesn't see it coming, and then it's going to make him, that type of fighter where he's not going to, basically respond well, or he is going to respond well. And it really just depends on how he takes those punches. Because Canelo tries to say that the guys that he fights are world level class competition. But if we go into his box rec, I can literally tell you that Canelo Alvarez did not fight good competition. I can name you all the people that he's fought that are not even that good. And this idiot is 55-1, cherry picked. Absolutely disgusting. But prior to Yildirim, or Mr. Alvini, shout out to Aki TV, he fought Caleb Smith. Absolute garbage fight. Caleb Smith had a 6-inch arm reach advantage over Canelo. Didn't do anything about that. Got dominated in devastating fashion, which I would just say he's really not the best 168 pounder, because 168 pound division is so whack and lame that David Benavidez should have been the one fighting him. And actually, it was for the WBC title that was vacated, so David Benavidez should have been his opponent to fight. So the biggest issue with this is that he could have fought David Benavidez if he hadn't lost his belt off the scale. And the Sergey Kovalev fight, he came off of a crazy hard-fought victory over Mr. Anthony Yarde, which Kovalev only had basically 3 months to recover. Or actually, yeah, September, October, November. Yeah, he basically gave Kovalev a 3.5 month, recovery. In which, hold on, yeah, 3.5, no, basically 2.5 months. He basically didn't give Kovalev that much time to really recover. He only had basically 10 weeks to prepare, which isn't really anything. So yeah, at this point, this doesn't make any sense. He basically cherry picked Kovalev to make him fight him when he was at a disadvantage. But prior to other fights, Danny Jacobs, okay, that's a decent fight. But Danny Jacobs, he was actually not letting his hands go as much, but he did what he had to do to beat Danny Jacobs. I'll give him that. Rocky Fielding, horrible fucking fight. Should have fought Jamal Charlo or basically David Benavidez. He really didn't need to do that shit. Gennady Golovkin, that was an okay fight. I actually thought Gennady beat the crap out of him in the first fight. But the second fight, he cheated. Don't know how he beat him. Didn't make any sense for any reason for him to try to cheat against Gennady. So that didn't make any sense. Those two fights, I thought really Triple G just washed him. But prior to that, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., Liam Smith, Amir Khan, which Amir Khan was whooping his ass, but then he got caught with a shot that he didn't see, so that's a KO. Liam Smith, he shouldn't have ever fought him. He should have fought Jermell Charlo at this time, because at this time, Demetrius Andrade wasn't champion yet to get the WBO title. So Andrade knew that, if he fought Canelo at 154, if he had the belt at the time for him to unify, he would have been in a lot of trouble trying to get all the belts and try to go for undisputed, which he didn't even want to do that, because you had Demetrius Andrade, the Charlo brothers, and I think who else? Maybe Erickson Lubin and all the other guys, Julian J. Rock Williams, Jared Hurd, Arislandi Lara. Yeah, so Canelo, he did not want that smoke. He didn't want to get his ass beat. So that pretty much shows, ever since now, he's been fighting a bunch of bums. Beat Amir Khan, absolute bum fight. Miguel Cotto went to war with him. He made Canelo work for that win, but you fought Cotto past his prime, so I'm not gonna give you that win. That win did not make any sense. It didn't really uplift you, other than you just got a vacant WBC World Middleweight title. Yeah, that was fought at a catchweight for 155. So you basically made Cotto, fight at your weight, Canelo weight. Absolutely terrible. James Kirkland, he was supposed to fight Jermell Charlo at that time, Same thing with Demetrius Andrade. It shouldn't have been Liam Smith that fought him. That should have been Andrade that fought him for the WBO title. But this fight with Kirkland was going to make him next in line to fight for, I believe, the IBF for 154, which Jermall Charlo was, I think he was going for the title at the time. But yeah, Jermall Charlo was supposed to fight for a world title eliminator. So that was supposed to be like the whole issue with that. But before James Kirkland, oh, and also even with the James Kirkland fight, he fucked over James Kirkland. He told him that he couldn't use his trainer because I believe his trainer was sick or something. Or no, I don't think the trainer was sick. But Canelo basically, his team told Kirkland that he wasn't able to use his trainer for the fight, and Kirkland barely had time to prepare for the fight because I think he came off of like a hard loss or like a hard win. And actually, we can take a look at it right now. Basically, I know for a fact that he took that fight on short notice, so he wasn't fully prepared for that fight. But yeah, Glenn Tapia, that was actually 5 months before then. But but still, it's like, prior to this date, I guarantee you Canelo gave him short notice to take the fight. But either way, he was coming off of like a 2-year layoff, so of course, Canelo would fight a guy like James Kirkland, who, if he was like, well prepared into the fight, James Kirkland definitely would have beat Canelo, but Canelo wanted to get him on his worst night, and then he just, ironically just KOs him. That doesn't make any damn sense. But the fight before then was Erislandy Lara. Oh, look, a black southpaw fighter from Cuba. Lara was whooping Canelo, and Canelo basically struggled in that whole fight. That came to a split decision victory on his end. Don't know how he won that fight, but yeah, ever since then, Canelo has not really fought anybody. Ever since he fought Floyd Mayweather, that kicked his ass and made him look stupid, Floyd Mayweather basically psychologically broke him. He fought Angulo, knocked him out in 10, fought Lara, went to war with him. Lara basically made him look dumb, and then fought James Kirkland on short notice. That didn't make any sense. And then you fought Miguel Cotto. That was way past his prime. That didn't really need to be there, but for some odd reason you actually just wanted to fight him just for the belt. Which okay, I'll give you that, but that's not really a legacy win. That's more like a more like a walk in a park win or a semi hard fight. I don't know, but more so, yeah, that's not really a good resume fight. Amir Khan, trash. Caught him with like a shot that he didn't see, got knocked out. Liam Smith, trash. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., trash. Gennady Golovkin, tough fights that you had to cheat in. And then Rocky Fielding, like, seriously, why the hell would he fight Rocky Fielding, like, for just one title when, he at the time actually had the WBC, this was for the middleweight division. He had the WBC, the WBA, and the IBO world title. So this is before Jermall Charlo became champion. But the other people on the other side of the street that had the who had the IBF? I'm not too sure who had the IBF, but I believe for the WBO you had Andrade right there. Why didn't you go after Andrade? Oh, yeah, I get it. You did not want to go after Andrade because you were too afraid for that smoke. And just like at 168, you did not want to fight David Benavidez because you figured you could fight a Rocky Fielding, a nobody from Britain, if I'm not mistaken. I'm looking up his box rec right now. Damn, this shit got a load. Yeah, he's from Britain. He's a garbage-ass fighter. This guy has fought everybody inside his own country. He's never fought outside of his own nation. He's been fighting absolute bums that have never brought him, to the distance. But ever since then, he's just been fighting bum, bum after bum. But after the Rocky Fielding fight, you went back down to regain your middleweight title or to defend it against, I guess, Danny Jacobs for the WBC, WBA, and IBF. So beat him, and then you went all the way up to, light heavyweight to fight Sergey Kovalev. A fight that, you gave him, mad short notice for him to prepare, and more so, I kind of felt like he kind of just, set that fight up. That wasn't even like a real fight. That was more like pretty much like a setup fight. But either way, it's just like, you didn't really beat anybody. But if we even take a look at Caleb Plant, I'm probably not going to look that up. But actually, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just take a look at it because I am on my computer, and why not? But Caleb Plant, I understand his resume is not, the deepest, resume, but still, he has some good quality wins that makes him a better opponent. But I'm gonna get to the style breakdown of why I believe Caleb would dominate Canelo. But let's get right to it. He beat Caleb Truax, not really a good win. Vincent Feigenbutz and Mike Lee, we're going to get that out of the way. Not really good names. I mean, they were mandatories, but still, not really good names. The only good win, preferably, would be the Jose Uzcategui fight and the Rogelio Medina fight, which I thought that was a really good fight. Medina brought him to the distance, and he did a very good job in that fight. And I would say that's it. But either way, he's a really good fighter. He knows what he's doing. I think stylistically, Canelo is going to get his ass whooped by Caleb. People try to say that Caleb Plant is going to get dominated by Canelo, but I highly disagree with that because the problem is that Canelo, if you look at how he fights in a very stationary, position. And the issue with Canelo is that Canelo is not going to fight a guy that likes to move. So, if you look at a guy like Demetrius Andrade, a guy that likes to move, you'll understand that Canelo, he does not want to fight a guy similar to that style. So what does Caleb Plant have to do with this? Oh, well, I'll tell you why. The reason why is because Caleb Plant is Demetrius Andrade 2.0. Because the problem with, Canelo is that he will never face a guy that has athletic ability. And for him to think that he could just beat up Caleb Plant is absolutely laughable. Because Caleb Plant is the type of fighter to give Canelo a lot of issues. He has great footwork, great defense, an amazing jab that he could time off right on time to make Canelo look dumb. And then he's going to make, a lot of issues for Canelo to try to hit him. And then he can't even hit him because Caleb, he got a much longer reach than him. So what makes anyone think that Caleb Plant is just going to trade with Canelo? No, he's not. He's going to make Canelo look stupid, and it's going to be absolutely funny. See, now, the biggest issue for Caleb is that he should not be getting caught with unnecessary shots. Sometimes he has a little bit lapses on defense, but I think either way, Caleb is going to be very defensively gifted in that fight. Because Canelo is not going to hit him if Caleb has a longer reach on him, and all he has to do is just use his jab all night. So, I think Caleb annihilates him. But the other issue would just simply be how would the judges score it? Because for this Caleb Plant fight, Caleb Plant is going to use all the, mechanisms to try to beat him. But I think from a fighter's perspective, you would have to be a little bit more aggressive, with your combinations in order to win the fight. So, I think Caleb will give Canelo problems, but, for Caleb to actually try to win this fight simply by outboxing Canelo, it's going to be a problem. So, I think either way, it's going to be a challenge, and that's going to be like the biggest issue. But I think stylistically, Caleb is a bad style matchup for Canelo. So, that's pretty much like my thoughts on that. The third topic is going to be, give me 1 second. I gotta look at the computer. Alright. Alright, give me 1 second. Hold on. Oh. Alright, hold on. Alright, here we go. Okay, the final topic is boxing. Is the boxing era, is boxing in the era of ducking? Hold on. Got a comment. You cooking for the Last Supper? Nah, man. I just gotta eat some food because, at times, when I'm trying to get me, like a live done, I sometimes get hungry in between. So I just figured, let me just get some food made, and I just figured to, try to have it cooking while I was doing the live stream. But yeah, either way, let's get into like the last topic, and then I gotta get up out of here. All right. So, is boxing in the era of ducking? I think honestly, this isn't really too much, of a issue. I think boxing is absolutely watered down, and the problem is that, I think in this era of young talent, we're probably looking at a very, very horrible, era of fighters avoiding other fighters. And I think the issue is just simply that promoters don't want their young up-and-coming talent to be dominated by another fighter that has simply better skills than the other fighter. And it doesn't make any sense, because the issue is just that boxing should just be set up like any other sport. How the NBA, they always have the NBA finals having the one team from the East being the best and the one team from the West being the best. So whoever wins the title. So I think for boxing, it should just be set up in a, properly decentralized model of, okay, if you're from the IBF and you have this belt, and I'm from the WBA, you have that belt, it should be very simple and easy for me to get that fight. And I think as a champion, you should be representing your title organization that you fight for to unify all the belts and become the best fighter ever. Because I think that the issue is that a lot of fighters make these excuses to not fight their contemporaries, and then it makes it absolutely harder to see the best fights come to fruition. So the issue is just that we're not, as the fans, not getting the fights that we want, because people are making the excuses to not see the best fights. And I think that, until that gets fixed up, that's really where the biggest issue comes to fruition. But I think, honestly, Once we see some improvements, I think that's really where, that the ducking season will be over. I just think like it just makes zero sense of how everything just gets watered down now. Like you saw it with Javante Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia, and now you're seeing it with Tyson Fury avoiding Deontay Wilder for the third fight, even though he's a damn cheater. You see it with maybe Jamal Charlo and David Benavidez. I'm not going to say anything about that. I think Charlo is going to fight David Benavidez. Maybe Caleb Plant and David Benavidez. That's possible, because David Benavidez, he wants that smoke with Caleb, and Caleb's making all the excuses to not really fight. David Benavidez prior to his Canelo fight. Even if you win, lose, or draw that fight, you're still going to get the Canelo fight. Well, actually, no. Now that I think about it from a business point of view, Caleb knows that it doesn't make any sense to fight David Benavidez right now when the issues still remain that you still have to, try to, get the undisputed with Canelo. So yeah, it would kind of make sense on Caleb's behalf to fight Canelo in September for the title. But prior to that, when he became world champion, he should have just went after David Benavidez. Like, that's basically what I'm gonna argue for that. But I think that makes perfect sense, because that's not really a duck until you can actually try to make some impacts with your title runs. But I think either way, yeah, Caleb Plant, he could be on the verge of being a ducker to David Benavidez. It seems like he's not really serious in wanting to fight him, and that needs to be called out. I think that's really the issue with a lot of fighters. But I think that makes perfect sense, because the issue is just simply that if you're going to be the best fighter ever and you're not going to fight your contemporaries to be the best fighter, then what does that make you? That makes you into a sellout, and that makes you an absolute pussy, and that just turns you into a broken individual. Because the issue still remains that when you see these young talent come out of any division, they look good at first, but then when they fight contemporaries, that's when everything falls apart. Because when they fight somebody that has a good style, has something that they can utilize to their advantages, or against them, who knows? That's why styles make fights, and everybody needs to understand that in the sport of boxing. You just can't beat everybody up. You have to actually make some effort in fighting somebody and testing yourself to make sure that you have a shot, and you could possibly make yourself a better individual from the fight. But either way, it just seems like in this era we're seeing a lot more ducking than usual, because a lot of these guys just don't have the the mental warrior mindset to make themselves a better fighter. Because Errol Spence and Deontay Wilder and all these other good fighters, they're bringing the sport back to their own, back to its own lineages. They're doing everything correctly to make themselves a better fighter. But the issue is just that when these fighters don't want to fight them, who the hell can you blame? You can't blame anybody but themselves. And that's really my biggest issue with a guy like Ryan Garcia, with a guy like Teofimo Lopez, with a guy like, I don't know, who else? There's so many people that I haven't really been calling out that really be ducking all the smoke. Maybe Terrence Crawford. It seems like he is avoiding Errol Spence now, because now he's basically stating that I'm gonna move up to 154, and then he wants to fight Danny Garcia at 154, and I don't understand why he's taking that fight when he should be going after the Errol Spence fight. But yeah, it's just absolutely disrespectful for the sport of boxing to see, a lot of these good fighters put their talents to waste against crappy, unknown fighters that could be risky at times, but when you have like a 90 to 95% chance of winning and you're not really seeing anything out of it, that's what makes everything lackluster and boring to watch these horrible fights. Like, I mean, the Canelo and, like, obviously Canelo's recent fight with Avni Yildirim was absolute garbage. I barely really watched that fight, and I was mainly just watching the undercards. And then I was like, yeah, Canelo, he's an absolute, piece of shit, and he does not deserve any respect at all. So that right there needs to be called out. And I think, this dynasty ends when the fans start speaking out against them to make them look stupid, and to have them be fighting, their contemporaries, because that's really where the, like, I guess that the $1 million question is lied between this issue, because the issue is just that people don't want to be fighting each other, and if they're going to make the excuses to not fight each other, then why the fuck are you in boxing? Like, right? I can't be stupid for saying that. That's a good question to ask. If you're not going to fight your contemporaries, then why are you in boxing? Devin Haney wants to do it. Gervonta wants to do it. Almost every fighter, or not every, but the good portion of fighters that are left that want to be, the lion's den of fighters that are going to represent the sport of boxing. That's something that a lot of people don't want to, answer and try to see, because that's what makes the sport great. But either way, I think it's going to end very soon when the economics of it do kill the consumerism of boxing, and people will wake up. People will see the, ramifications of boxing being destroyed, but it's not going to come through just people asking questions. It's going to naturally click when you start seeing crappy pay-per-view fights that are not even worth watching, when you know that you could watch something else for way better at free TV. At least, like, certain fighters out there that actually fight on free TV, they put up a damn good fight. So that's what needs to happen. Like, those type of fights need to shine out. But I think it's like an on and off pendulum swing with like with boxing, even though like all the other sports are like dying down because of like all the political nonsense that people be beefing in sports. But either way, I think like even when you compare it to basketball or football or soccer or hockey, it's like boxing is just way low to the ground. And it used to be one of the most popular sports in the world prior to the 1900s, and I'd probably say the 1800s. Boxing was a very high paid sport, and it can be for everyone else, for every fighter to make money and be compensated and protected for their life, liberty and property. But when it comes to getting proper justice of what people want in boxing, that needs to be called out, and that needs to be addressed. So that's pretty much what I gotta say to y'all today, man. I really do appreciate you guys for coming through. If you guys wanted to come and listen, thank you, Zed, for coming through to the stream. Had lots of fun. I'm gonna probably maybe do like an open, live stream call-in session where people can come in and actually debate their boxing topics with me. And that's pretty much it, man. I really do appreciate y'all for coming through, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out, and until next time, bye. Ah, ah.